We just got some stunning new data that shows how much trouble the Trump campaign is in, because these numbers I'm about to show you in just a second show that Kamala Harris and her campaign are outspending Donald Trump and his campaign on TV ads by a lot. Like, it's not even close. But before we look at these numbers, make sure to subscribe and like the video and comment. It goes a long way and supports the channel. But here's the data we're looking at here. As you can see on your screen right now, here is a post from an account called Ad Impact Politics. They track the spending from presidential campaigns, Senate campaigns, House campaigns, all of that on ads in different swing states around the country. And they write, there's $1.9 billion set to air in the 9 weeks between Labor Day and Election Day. It's a lot of money in a short amount of time. But as you can see, for the presidential level, the Harris campaign and her associated PACs are spending $303 million, whereas Donald Trump and his associated PACs are spending $135 million. So Harris is doubling Donald Trump's spend. And that's just generally across the country. That right there is already a big disparity. But when you look on an individual swing state level, it gets even worse for Donald Trump and his campaign. So we have the exact numbers from all of these states right here. You can see in Pennsylvania and Georgia, it's relatively tied. Kamala Harris is spending just a bit more than the Trump campaign in those two states. But on different swing states down the list, it gets really bad for Trump. So in Michigan, Kamala Harris is spending $55 million. Donald Trump is just spending $6.6 million. In Arizona, Kamala Harris is spending $35 million. Donald Trump, $10 million. In Wisconsin, $33 million for Harris, $3.5 for Donald Trump. North Carolina, $26 million for Harris and $2.8 million for Donald Trump, and so on and what have you. Now, that's a huge disparity in spending. I don't think we've seen a presidential candidate or a presidential election have this much disparity in their spending on swing state ads. It's just remarkable. It's unprecedented. We haven't seen a gap like this, and it shows you that Kamala Harris and the Democrats are working hard for every single vote. They're targeting all of these swing states, making sure that all of the American people hear their message, what they want to accomplish. Donald Trump is doing nothing. He's focusing on two states, which is important. We'll talk about in a second. And he's sitting at Mar-a-Lago and golfing. But this also brings us to brand new reporting that we just got today, that the Harris campaign and the DNC have announced an unprecedented amount of down-ballot spending, because there's so much money that's being spent from Harris and her super PACs and her campaign that they're able to actually spend on other Democratic candidates, but because Donald Trump and the Republicans are just simply not challenging them. So from this Politico article, Kamala Harris's campaign and the Democratic National Committee said Tuesday that they are sending nearly $25 million to support down-ballot Democrats, an earlier investment and far more money than the top of the ticket has spent in recent election years. The funding in part reflects the Harris's operation ability to spread money around after record fundraising over the past 6 weeks, but it also is a recognition of the importance of this year's down-ballot races, which overlap with many of the swaths of the country that could decide the presidential election and whose outcome will substantially affect how Harris or Donald Trump will be able to govern. The newly announced funds come from both the Harris campaign and the DNC, with a total of $10 million each going to committees supporting Democratic candidates for the House and Senate, along with $2.5 million to a national Democratic group supporting state legislative candidates, and $1 million each for groups backing Democratic gubernatorial and attorney general candidates. So, I mean, this is, again, it just shows you how strong the Harris campaign is, how strong their fundraising operation is, that they're able to send $25 million to down ballot candidates. Because, as I mentioned, the Republicans are just not competing. They're not fighting with Kamala Harris. We just saw the numbers on an individual state level with Donald Trump. They still have to go after Donald Trump, but it allows resources to be expended in other places. Now, as I mentioned, these two states, the fact that Donald Trump is basically focusing on Georgia and Pennsylvania in terms of ad spend is really important. And it tells us a lot about the Trump campaign strategy for November. Because, quite frankly, the Trump campaign doesn't actually need to win Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin, North Carolina, or Nevada to win the election. Here's the map that the Trump campaign is likely going for. And unfortunately, this map right here results in a Trump victory. So as you can see, if Pennsylvania and Georgia go red, which is where Trump is focusing, he has 270 electoral votes. Kamala Harris could win Michigan, she could win Wisconsin, she could win Nevada and Arizona and still lose the election. The Trump campaign knows this math. That's why they're going hard in Georgia and Pennsylvania. They don't feel as optimistic about their chances in Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada, so they're focusing on these two key swing states. But this is a bad strategy from Donald Trump because number one, the American people see this strategy. Like, it's not secret, and we're talking about it right now. So folks in Pennsylvania, folks in Georgia will be even more motivated to get out there and vote along with all of these other swing states. But number two, this is a bad strategy because they're putting all of their eggs in one basket. Like, for example, if Donald Trump were to lose either of these states, he's saying he's hinging his election chances on these two states. If he were to lose either of them, just Pennsylvania, he loses. Or if he loses Georgia, as you can see on your screen, he loses. So putting all of your eggs in one, or for example, as well, don't forget this one, North Carolina, which has been in the news recently, and then Kamala Harris could lose like Arizona, for example, and still win the election if she wins North Carolina. So Trump putting all of his eggs in one basket shows the panic. It shows the desperation of the Trump campaign, that they only have one clear strategy to the presidency. They're not expanding their map, they're minimizing their map. And as we talked about yesterday, they've pulled out of the swing state of New Hampshire. They are no longer sending surrogates and resources to that state because they don't view it as a swing state anymore since Kamala Harris joined the top of the ticket. It's a bad strategy from Donald Trump, but now we know the strategy that they're running with. These numbers spell real danger for Donald Trump and his campaign. Kamala Harris is out there visiting all of these swing states, fighting for every single vote, fighting for every single voter, whereas Donald Trump is focusing on two states and sitting at Mar-a-Lago and golfing all day. It's not a great strategy from Donald Trump. They're desperate, but to be honest, it's all they've got. They're not expanding their map. There's no room to expand their map. They know it. We know it. The country knows it. So anyway, I just wanted to bring this data to your attention. It's fascinating and not good for Donald Trump. Great for Kamala Harris. So I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes an incredibly long way. Also drop a like on the video and comment. Let me know what you think about all this. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.